Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a rather interesting video for you today. So, Star Wars Theory put out a tweet that I think is really interesting. So, the initial tweet says, I fully believe Anakin would have listened to Padme, or at least heard her out if he didn't see Obi-Wan standing there like a bitch out for blood. And Star Wars Theory says, this is what I'm saying. If Obi-Wan wasn't there, Anakin would have been brought back to the light sooner. I fully disagree with this, and we're going to go over the scene of Padme's plea, but here's the reality. At no point in that encounter was there any opportunity to bring Anakin back to the light. In fact, as the conversation went on, it was clear that she was pushing him more towards the dark. And here's the main component of why it works for Luke and not for Padme. When Padme is playing with him, Anakin is at his most arrogant. He is newly formed in the dark side. You know, his anger, his ambition, everything is at a 10. So she's telling him, like, come away with me, let's do this. He's still thinking, like, I'm going to overthrow the Emperor, I'm going to be ruler of the world. My kids are going to basically be raised in this, dark side, light side, sort of thing. I'm going to have everything. He believes that he has everything at that moment. So, the reason why it doesn't work, and the reason why nothing she could say would get through, is because he hasn't lost anything yet. It's only after his defeat to Obi-Wan where he gets basically, Padme's gone. He thinks he's alone. He's humbled. His own master's disgusted with him. He no longer has his limbs. He is scarred irrevocably. He has to wear this suit, this basically this walking tomb. He loses everything. And people want to see the best in Anakin, but he's not Anakin at this point. He's Darth Vader. And I think that's a very important thing because he doesn't have, yellow eyes. People are like, "Oh, well, he can be brought back." I don't agree with that. I don't think he can. I think at this point he's too far gone. And so what we're going to do is we're going to watch this scene and I'm going to go over it because I think what was required is for Anakin to go through that humbling of the defeat at the hands of Obi-Wan, for him to be able to be receptive towards just about anything. Padme's plea, the whole tragedy of it, is that there's nothing that she could have said that would have brought Anakin back to the light.
I saw your ship. What are you doing out here?
I was so worried about you. Obi-Wan told me terrible things.
What things?
He said you've turned to the dark side, that you killed younglings.
Obi-Wan is trying to turn you against me.
He cares about us.
Us?
He knows. He wants to help you.
See, that, it's like every bit of this conversation, like people like, oh, he's smiling. Like, no, when I saw that, I didn't think he was like smiling like, oh, like, that's cute and everything. No, it seems like he's smiling because internally, and I admit I'm not as up to date on all of the all of the novelizations and all of the lore material, but based on this, the look that he's giving, it's not a look of like, oh, that's so sweet. Obi-Wan wants to help, or oh, good old Obi-Wan. No, it seems like it's more of like a sneer, almost like a condescending, like he can't help anyone. Like it doesn't seem to me like this is getting through, and maybe that's the misconception. Like oh, she's reaching Anakin. No, I think this is Vader. I think this is all Vader because the main thing is, like I mentioned, Vader had to be humbled to the degree that he was at the hands of Obi-Wan, for him to even be able to be receptive to this. Because his ambitions, his delusions, everything is dialed up to a 10 at this point.
Anakin, all I want is your love.
Love won't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that.
At what cost? You're a good person. Don't do this.
I won't lose you the way I lost my mother. I am becoming more powerful than any Jedi has ever dreamed of. And I'm doing it for you. To protect you.
Come away with me. Help me raise our child. Leave everything else behind while we still can.
Don't you see? We don't have to run away anymore. I have brought peace to the Republic. I am more powerful than the Chancellor. I can overthrow him.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing a great job. You can definitely see he's conflicted. He's definitely right there on the edge. He's thinking about killing the Emperor. He's thinking about taking over the Republic. He's not listening to a word she's saying. I understand why people want to see the best in Anakin in the scene and think that he could be redeemed, but he can't. It's the loss of everything that basically drops him so low that somebody like Luke can come along and try to, pull him back from the abyss. But at this point, he's not thinking about, his depressing future and all that stuff because he's not living it yet. He's still thinking, okay, so I've destroyed the Jedi. I'm going to soon have the power to cheat death. I'm going to be able to have Padme. She's going to have my kids. The Jedi are gone. I'm the most powerful being in the universe. He's thinking like grandiose, these huge ideas, these huge visions that he's having. I don't mean like force visions, but he's imagining himself in this grand place where he's on the throne and Padme's at his side and all his kids. So nothing that she says is going to get through to that because the dark side is feeding that. It's like a furnace. It's feeding that up to an 11 at this point because he's newly minted in the dark side. So, yeah, I don't think that she's getting through to him, and you can see that by his responses. He's not actually responding to what she's saying. He's just saying what he wants to do, which is the selfishness of the dark side.
And together, you and I can rule the galaxy. Make things the way we want them to be.
Tell me that, yeah, that face, yeah. Oh, he's on the brink of coming back to the light, isn't he? No, of course not. And Hayden Christensen does a phenomenal job in this scene. I don't want to hear any Hayden Christensen hate. He does a phenomenal job here.
I don't believe what I'm hearing. Obi-Wan was right. You've changed.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. The Jedi turned against me. Don't you turn against me?
Yeah, well, she's doing a great job. Yeah, right there on the verge. No, there's nothing she could have said. That's the tragedy of Padme's plea. There's nothing she could have said. He's too far gone into the dark side.
I don't know you anymore. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Because of Obi-Wan.
Because of what you've done. What you plan to do. Stop. Stop now. Come back. I love you.
Liar!
Yeah, Obi-Wan, and read the room a little bit. Maybe don't show up standing there looking like a father about to discipline his kid.
No.
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No.
Let her go, Anakin! Let her go!
You turned her against me!
You have done that yourself!
You know what's interesting is, like, I've watched this scene a couple times. Everything that Obi-Wan does from the moment that he comes down there is designed to do one thing, and that is to make Anakin angry. Every bit of it, every moment of him being there is designed to make Anakin angry, because I don't think Obi-Wan was there to reason with Anakin. I don't think he was there to try to bring him back to the light. I think he was just there to kill him. I don't think there was I mean, he's like, well, maybe, but I don't think it was his top concern to bring him back, because everything that he says, everything that he does is designed to get Anakin more and more angry, which feeds into Obi-Wan's style of Form 3, which is make somebody angry enough and they'll eventually make a mistake. You know, Obi-Wan is like, he's the defense master. The defense against the dark arts teacher.
You have done that yourself!
You will not take her from me!
Your anger and your lust for power have already done that.
Yeah, he doesn't try to ask him, like, hey, Anakin, what happened? Last I told you that you were, I was proud of you and you were great. What the hell happened? Doesn't try to understand. Just says things to make him more angry. Like, yeah, Padme's gone and you did it. It's your fault. It's just a very interesting scene. But I saw that tweet from Star Wars Theory. I like Star Wars Theory a lot. He makes a lot of great content. He is like the textbook definition of a fan, like a true fan. Putting his own money into making these Vader fan films. The fact that Lucasfilm hasn't hired this guy, I mean, genuinely, it blows my mind that he hasn't been hired. There's so many opportunities. I will never understand the continued failure of Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. It just, I have my opinions on it. Not everyone's going to agree, but I think that at the end of the day, I should focus on the core of this video. Maybe that's a video for another time, but I just think that there's nothing that Padme could have said here to pull him back, because he hadn't lost anything. He wasn't in a place to want to accept anything. And accepting Padme's plea is the potential, the possibility that she could die in his mind, and he's not ready to do that. But also it means giving up being the emperor, all the power, all the stuff that he wanted. And I don't think he was ready to do that. I don't think that it was until, or I think it was not until he lost everything that he
Deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
You will try.
With a
So, yeah, I think that no matter what happened, I mean, Obi-Wan showing up definitely didn't help things. He should have waited a little bit longer, I feel. But honestly, truthfully, whether he was there or not, I don't think it would have made any sort of difference. I think what would have happened is he would have basically kidnapped Padme. He would have taken her for her quote-unquote protection and had her be basically a prisoner on Coruscant or a Star Destroyer And she basically would have been, yeah, in prison. She would have been kind yet sad. She would have been trapped as Darth Vader went out and, harmed the galaxy and stuff like that. I don't think he would have changed because I think at that point he's too far gone. If it were before Order 66, maybe she could reach him. But after he's killed the younglings and slaughtered all the Jedi in the temple and slaughtered the separatists and all that, I don't think at that point when his machinations for world domination are that high, when he's thinking, I could have the dark side, because he's not just thinking about her. Understand? He goes, I can overthrow the Emperor and we can make things the way we want them to be. He's not just thinking about her in the moment. The dark side has basically driven his whole worldview to an 11, and it's, yeah, I don't think there's anything she could have said. I don't think there's anything that she could have done. I think that's the tragedy of Padme's plea, is that whether Obi-Wan were there or not, whatever she said was going to fall on deaf ears because she was being drowned out by the dark side. Just because he didn't have yellow eyes. And I know that Star Wars Theory, he did make a post saying, what the fuck is this? It is written in Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, what Anakin would have done had Obi-Wan not showed up. Yeah. This is the way. Obi-Wan had to be there. Yoda and he were the only Jedi left, and had to try and stop the Sith. Anakin, now Darth Vader, had already chose the dark side. Obi-Wan gave Padme a chance to reach him, and Vader nearly killed her. Well, okay, so okay, well that's not actually correct. He nearly killed her after Obi-Wan appeared, but Obi-Wan did give her a chance to try to plead with him, and it obviously wasn't working. But here's the thing. Obi-Wan was not there to reason with Anakin. He gave Padme a chance, but he was there to kill the Sith. And stop the Sith he was determined to do. At that point, he believed that Anakin was gone. And you can tell by the way that they talk, you can tell by the way that he converses with Anakin that it's not really a conversation that's built around like
Here it goes.
fucking really. There's still good in him. Anakin's last words were, "You were right." Huh, that's actually really quite sweet. But yeah, I think in the end it's very clear that at that point he wasn't ready to listen because he was so juiced up from the dark side, had so many of these thoughts and ambitions running through his head. I think that there's nothing she could have said or done that would have had any impact. Not because she didn't do a fantastic job, but he hadn't lost. It was that loss, it was that humbling that I think made him susceptible to a lot of what Luke had to say. It was losing Padme, losing his friendship with Obi-Wan, basically losing the Jedi, losing pretty much everything in his life, and becoming a slave to Palpatine. I think that is ultimately what opened him up to being able to be reasoned with by Luke. But at that point, Padme, she had nothing to offer him. Because in his mind, he was going to take whatever he wanted anyway. So, he was going to rule the throne, overthrow the Emperor. She was going to be by his side regardless. In his mind, it was already done. So it required the humbling, it required that defeat to bring him to the point where he could actually listen. So that's my opinion on this. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to love Star Wars so much. I'm sad to see what Disney did to it, but it's cool that still have these conversations about Star Wars when it was actually remarkably good. Anyway, that'll be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.